with Jay Crawford.
And a happy Friday, I think. I think it's a happy Friday. It doesn't feel like one, but welcome into lunch break. Joining us at the lunch table today, I'm Jay Crawford. Maureen Kyle, great to have you back.
Great to be back, especially on a day like today, I think.
There's a lot going on.
There's so much.
I want to start with a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, the impeachment hearings still going on Capitol Hill. They are in a break, and they are ready to resume. So at a minute's notice, we could break away from lunch break and throw it to the proceedings, which are going on in Washington, D.C., expected to resume within 5 to 10 minutes. So you'll have to excuse us if we very abruptly say goodbye. But we start this morning where else? With the Cleveland Browns game last night. We haven't beaten the Steelers in 5 years. This was supposed to be a celebratory day. It doesn't feel much like a celebration, Maureen.
No. It's, I think I saw Twitter users put it best. Even when we win, we lose.
It feels that way.
And that's how people are feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you go from this euphoric high, you're going to beat Pittsburgh by 2 touchdowns, you're 2-0 in the division. For the first time ever, you've beaten the Ravens and the Steelers in the same season. Everything felt so right. And then at the end of the game, something happened on the field that has, look, impeachment proceedings have happened now 4 times in our nation's history. Myles Garrett's actions bumped the impeachment proceedings out of the top slot on the morning news shows nationally. If you are living in a cave and you haven't seen the play yet, take a look.
So it was Myles Garrett who took the helmet off of Mason Rudolph and slammed him on the top of the head.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen on a professional sports field.
You know, Joe, I've been involved with.
Yeah, and I have to echo those thoughts. I've been a sports fan my entire life. Don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. And there are a lot of moving parts here, and we're going to try to unpack as much of this as we can. Breaking news right now, I can tell you Myles Garrett suspended by the NFL indefinitely. This within the last 10 minutes. Marquise Pouncey, the center for the Steelers, suspended 3 games for his actions. And Larry Ogunjobi suspended 1 game. He's the player that came in and shoved Mason Rudolph to the ground late in that play. Also, each team fined, get this, Maureen, $250,000, $250,000 in fines. Everybody talking about this after the game. Let's listen in to what some of the coaches and players had to say about the very ugly incident.
You know, that is embarrassing. Now, what I did was foolish, and I shouldn't have allowed myself to slip like that.
You know, he had some words and kept on keeping on, and one thing led to another. So, but you can watch the tape, go back and check it out, and make your own assumptions.
He's going to own up to it. He's going to handle it, and this locker room is going to have to come together because this is going to be a soap opera on the outside.
I'll keep my thoughts to myself. You guys saw what happened at the end.
There's a lot of good things from the game that's going to get overshadowed by this, and a lot of people is not going to get the recognition because of this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This stains the win. And sadly, I think, Maureen, in Myles Garrett, you're talking about not a Pro Bowl talent. You're talking about a guy that if he can sustain this level of play for a decade, he's a gold jacket kind of talent. He's a Hall of Fame kind of talent. And this image will stick with us forever.
Right.
He could go on to win a Super Bowl or 2.
Yeah.
We'll always remember Myles Garrett pulling the helmet off a player and then striking him on top of the head. Do you think the indefinite suspension right now, which could turn into more to a definitive number, and it will soon, what do you think about what the league has done in response to this?
You know, it breaks my heart to say I think that they've done the right thing. I think that the fact that they say more to come, I think everybody on that field was to blame. I think there are more players who should be to blame. I mean, I think a lot of Browns fans will agree with me on this. It wasn't just Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
There was an escalation, and I think that's what they're looking into, and I don't blame them for that. So that's why I do believe we will see more. But I think everybody has to take their share of blame for whatever happened. Those guys are coached to not lose your cool and not have those type of penalties and take it to a personal and an emotional level, and that's what happened, and it's so unfortunate.
In real time watching it, my instant reaction was he's done for the year, and then I thought, did I see what I thought I saw? And I was anxiously waiting to see the replay, and it proved that that's exactly what I thought I saw on the replay, and it confirmed it. Based on the after-game handshake between Freddie Kitchens and Mike Tomlin, I think Freddie was just as confused as all of us. Watch.
Great game, bro.
Hold the best.
I don't even know what. Yeah.
Come on, man. It's football.
All right, let's go.
He's not sure what happened, and many of us weren't either. And honestly, I know there are a ton of moving parts here, and I'm going to go through some of these little things that led up to what we saw. And in doing so, I want to preface my remarks by saying no one is more responsible for this than Myles Garrett.
Right.
He takes 100% of the blame for this escalating to this level. It's a national story because Myles Garrett swung the helmet. All those other little things could have happened. It wasn't a national story. Questions that I have. It's a 14-point game. There's 14 seconds left. Mason Rudolph, the Steelers quarterback, has missed games this year due to a concussion. He had just been sacked on back-to-back plays. The game was over. You can't throw a 15-point touchdown. Why was he throwing a pass on 3rd and 29 with 14 seconds to go? I believe Mike Tomlin put his player in harm's way. I'm not blaming Mike Tomlin for what happened. I'm just pointing out different things that happened. Mason Rudolph did try to pull Myles Garrett's helmet off. I don't know what was said. Hopefully the league talks to both players and gets to the bottom of it. Doesn't excuse what Myles Garrett did. There were players that could have and should have come between the quarterback and Myles Garrett. They tried. It didn't work. All of that being said, no one is more responsible than Myles Garrett, and he has to bear 100% of the responsibility. And quite honestly, I hope he's more contrite when they get him in front of a television camera ASAP, which needs to be today. I need to see more contrition from him. I didn't feel it last night in the little clip that I saw. He needs to fall on the sword hard. He needs to get on a plane, get to New York, get in front of the commissioner, and literally tell him this was a one-time thing, and he needs to plead for mercy, because this could be the rest of the season. This could be more. We're going to talk a little bit more about what it could turn into in just a second. Right now, let's get some of the reaction on social media. And Stephanie Haney, our digital anchor, it was fast, it was furious, and it came from all corners of the sports world and elsewhere. What jumped out to you on digital?
It really did come from everywhere, and a lot of people had a lot of opinions on what happened between Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph, including some Browns fans who thought that people were being too harsh on Garrett for what he did. Here's what former NFL players are saying. Marcus Spears, who played 9 seasons in the NFL, says this is not a football thing. He tweeted, "We don't operate like that, and that's not normal in our brotherhood," and said no NFL player that he knows in their right mind would condone what Garrett did or chalk it up to just football.
Stephanie, quickly, I know Marcus. He tells it like it is, better than anyone in the business right now.
And that's what he's doing right here on Twitter. You said it right there, Jay. Ryan Clark, however, who won a Super Bowl with the Steelers in 2009, says he has seen players hit with helmets, just not in a game. I'm gonna send it back to you, Jay, so you can let our viewers know that they're gonna be heading to the impeachment hearings.
Unfortunately, our time is out here. We have to get back to Capitol Hill. NBC resuming coverage now of their impeachment hearings. We will continue this discussion on our WKYC.com stream. Okay, now for our online viewers only. Stephanie, we're going through the social media reaction. If you would, please continue with some of the other things that jumped out to you.
Right, so Ryan Clark was saying that he has seen this in football. He has seen it, but not in a game. He has seen it in practice only. And he, as I said, he played with the Steelers in 2009. He won a Super Bowl with them. But even with that, Clark still says that Garrett should be out for a long time and pay big money for this, and we do know he is going to be out for a while. On the more extreme side, some people are saying that Garrett hitting Rudolph with a helmet should be prosecuted as a crime. But Clark disagrees with that. Clark tweeted that what Garrett did was inexcusable, but not criminal, and the narrative of prosecution or jail time is just simply wrong. Deion Sanders, who has 7 years in the NFL, he's taking a kinder tone with Garrett. He says that he is praying for him. He's acknowledging this was a quick reaction, but says it was a wrong one. And he added, and I quote, "You have a big future ahead of you. God bless you," sending that personal message to Garrett. Now, on the other extreme, O.J. Simpson, with 11 years in the NFL, among other things that he's well known for, is coming to Garrett's defense, basically saying that Rudolph got what was coming to him. Here's what O.J. said.
Look, all I know is this. The minute Mason went after the man's helmet with his foot in his groin, it's on. I'm hearing all these announcers saying that Garrett should be suspended. Maybe he should. But when a guy's trying to get your helmet off your head, and that's where it started, with his foot in your groin, it's on. I'm just saying. Take care.
Personally, I don't know if I would want OJ's stamp of approval. But in fairness, we don't know the full story of what went down between Garrett and Rudolph. And the NFL did say when we got the news about those initial penalties today that other penalties are coming for players. But that doesn't change the fact Garrett hit a man in the head with a helmet. I did reach out to Garrett's representation today, and I'm waiting on a comment back for them. So if and when we get that, we'll update the story on WKYC.com.
All right, thank you. I want to get your quick reaction to OJ weighing in on Myles Garrett's
Why?
behalf.
Because you saw my face?
Yeah, well, because your facial expression mimicked my feelings.
Well, just, you know, I don't know if I'm Myles Garrett. I don't know if I want the blessing from O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear at the end of that, Myles Garrett does not approve this message.
Right. I mean, just sorry, O.J. I just don't need your. I
don't want him coming to my defense.
Not sponsored by O.J. Simpson.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I don't even know what to say about that.
You know, and there's so many varying points that Stephanie brought up, and we've seen a lot of them. And I think a lot of people are just torn about how do you feel about this? And that's what I take away from all of it.
We have poll results coming up in a minute that really show how the difference between this is being viewed in Cleveland and the way it's being viewed nationally. We'll share those numbers in a second. I do feel that we need to get this in because this is just out from Dee and Jimmy Haslam, of course, the owners of the Cleveland Browns. They've released a statement that says, "We are extremely disappointed in what transpired last evening at the end of the game. There's no place for that in football. That is not reflective of the core values we strive for as an organization. We sincerely apologize to Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Myles Garrett has been a good teammate and member of our organization and community for the last 3 years, but his actions last night were completely unacceptable. We understand the consequences from the league for his actions." Your reaction? Appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, the Haslams had to come out and say something, and I think what they said is just perfect in the circumstance that they're in. You know, I'm waiting to hear from the Steelers too about how, you know, just a statement from them because
I could tell by Tomlin's reaction.
Yeah.
What he has to say is going to indict the Browns, and he's going to take no responsibility for anything that happened last night. Nor will he allow his player to take any of the responsibility for what happened last night.
And why is that? Why do you think they're going to stay away from that? Because, I mean, you see the video, and it's an escalation of two people.
Sure.
And Myles Garrett, I'm not excusing what he did at all. Like, he definitely is the pinnacle of the blame.
Right.
But it's not. Something provoked him, and that's the gray area I think that we need to figure out.
We do.
What happened?
And that's why I'm hoping the commissioner in this indefinite suspension for Myles, I think he wants to talk to him, and he should want to talk to him. He should also talk to Mason Rudolph. And here's my questions. From what I'm hearing from players that covered the game, former players that have talked to current players that are playing, this was an unusually dirty game, verbally and otherwise. Whenever the Browns and Steelers get together, you are hearing things that you would never hear anyone say to another human being. And it's always dirty and physical. But I'm told that this was particularly over the top. I want to know, did Mason Rudolph say something that triggered what we saw? I don't think we're going to find out that's the case because I think that in defense of himself last night, Myles Garrett would have said so. And he didn't say that. He was most likely responding to the reaction of Rudolph trying to pull off his helmet. Okay. Again, it doesn't exonerate or excuse any of that.
Right.
And I think, so really, I think, Maureen, what we have to look at now is it is what it is. How will this impact the Cleveland Browns moving forward, who for the first time all year have back-to-back wins? They're 4-6. It feels like they should be talking about their season is still alive, but it looks like they're going to have to go the rest of the season without their defensive star.
Yeah.
And so how do you win out? How do you finish 10-6 if he's on the sidelines? So asking what happens next, we have a clip, and I hope we can run this one. I know we're going out of order, and we're kind of winging it here. Vontaze Burfict is a rather aggressive defensive player, plays for the Oakland Raiders. Browns fans remember him from his time with the Bengals. This was a hit on Burfict to Doyle, a tight end for the Colts earlier this year. And when you slow this down, you look at it, this makes you gasp. He leads with his helmet.
Yeah.
Now, that was egregious, And when the commissioner took into account his suspension, he thought about his history as a player. He has a history of a dirty player. Running off the field laughing and blowing kisses to Colts fans, he got suspended for 12 games, the rest of this season, for that hit and that reaction. So as I'm trying to figure out what the commissioner's going to do, I'm saying, Maureen, if this is worth 12 games, what is what Myles Garrett did worth? And that leads me to think and worry, perhaps, that we could see a suspension. And this is, I think, what would be the worst case scenario, but I think this is still in play here. He could suspend Myles Garrett for a full season, for 16 games, which would be 6 here and 10 going into next year. Antonio Callaway, who was cut before the game, was facing a 10-game suspension for failing a second drug test. So what is this worth?
Yeah.
I don't know, but Burfict got 12.
Yeah.
Do we have the results of our poll questions now? Okay, so we asked locally, this is mostly Cleveland weighing in, this is WKYC, and 19% say that a huge fine, no suspension. The biggest number is a 2-game suspension or suspended for the season, and then a 4-game suspension is 7%.
I think they have to. I just think that it's going to be a season. I really do. I think it's going to be more than just a few games.
Yeah, I'm afraid that could be the case too. I asked my Twitter following for their reaction, and this obviously is more of a national picture because there are people weighing in from all over the country on this one, but 5,000 folks voted, and the overwhelming majority say he should be out for the season. Almost half of the 5,000 respondents believe that he should be out for the remainder of the season, which would be 6 games. I would expect that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it were 8, so it led into next season, or if it was an entire 16-game season, which would be 6 plus 10, that wouldn't blow me away. The reason I say that is because knowing the commissioner as I do, there is one thing he despises more than everything else, and that is bad press for his league. When this incident bumped impeachment proceedings off of the front page and the first story in all of the national newscasts this morning, I think I expected swift and harsh, and so far that's exactly what we've seen. And I think the commissioner is going to make a very loud statement. This is unacceptable.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that this is exactly what we will be looking at as we go throughout the day, and I'm sure we'll hear more.
Yeah, we'll continue following the story. Much more on Channel 3 coming up at 6 o'clock, and I would expect that we would probably have to wait at least into next week before we hear a definitive number on the game suspension for Myles Garrett. Okay, we can move on. Taylor Swift, set to be honored at this year's AMAs as the Artist of the Decade. So that really is, if you look at it, and she's had a million accolades draped on her, this is probably the biggest award of her career. It's almost like a career achievement, lifetime achievement deal. She had said that she planned to play a medley of her hits, but this is where it gets really kooky. The men who have the rights, own the rights to her music, have other plans. And they said that they're not going to allow her to do it. Swift took to Twitter yesterday to reveal the set of conditions that she's basically being asked by these men to meet in order to play her old songs. That includes telling her not to re-record her songs. Remember, she threatened to just re-record her entire library, then she would own the rights of that. The men that own the rights of her music don't want her to do that. And they're saying that she has to stop talking about them in public, talking about the men who bought the rights to her music. Now Swift is asking fans to let them know how they feel. And you know she has a huge army of fans. She's leading with hashtags Free Taylor and I Stand With Taylor. It's a Big Machine released a statement saying they were shocked and that they did not say Taylor could not perform on the AMAs or block her Netflix special. Now, I find interesting in the wording there, they're saying that they didn't say she can't perform, but they didn't tell her she can't perform her music.
Yeah.
So what is your immediate take when you hear what's going on?
I think
this whole thing?
Most of all, it gives us such an insight into the music industry. I mean, you just assume that the artists who are singing their song, that's their song, or
she
at
wrote
least
those
it
songs,
would have.
By the way.
And she's a fantastic songwriter.
Yeah.
So. You know, and when I heard like, oh, she might re-record her songs and then release them, I thought that is very smart. I saw people stand behind her there.
Right.
But when you get into all the legal stuff, I mean, as many tweets as she can put out there saying, hey, these are the bad guys. I mean, if you've signed a contract and you have to jump through legal hoops, you better have some good lawyers to find your way around that.
Yeah, this is very messy. I think publicly she probably holds the upper hand. She has such a huge fan base, and they are vocal. They love Taylor Swift. And so she's doing a good job, I think, in painting these guys as the burglars in Home Alone. You know, we're like, these guys are buffoons and we don't like them. I'm not a huge fan of her music, but I think she should own it. She wrote it, she recorded it, and I think she should be able to play it whenever she wants, wherever she wants, and I hope she does. I hope she prevails. Because that's nothing more than extortion. Stop talking badly about us in public.
Right. When
stop doing bad things, and I'll stop talking badly about you.
On her part, to be like, look at what these guys are making me do.
She's savvy, isn't she?
Yeah, we're like, hey, Scooter Braun, like, what a jerk.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows? You know, that might have been lawyer speak. So
exactly. Okay, we're going to wrap up today's lunch break like this. Maybe this is how you're feeling today at work, or perhaps about your chores. A little guy's trending on social media for his attitude while in the bounce house. Look at this. Hands in pockets, casually bouncing, no smile, way too cool to jump around like any other 2-year-old would. He is a boss in the bounce house.
Doesn't that just make you happy? After everything that's happened today, this has to just warm your heart. So his uncle actually uploaded this in 2017, but somehow it's catching on with YouTube users. They were looking for mood videos, probably to make memes. So now it's trending with all sorts of memes, like me when I want to have fun, but not too much fun. Ron Swanson as a kid. How about that one? And security at a gig when they have to watch the crowd, but they're also vibing on the artist. There's been some good ones. Yeah.
Very well done. Yeah. That kind of mirrors my mood. I just want to get in a bounce house and jump around for a little while.
I think we'll all find that bounce house, the proverbial one today, with our hands in our pockets.
Maureen, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
we hope you have a great weekend. We will see you back here on lunch break, 12 noon on Monday. Make it a terrific weekend. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for making 3 News a part of your afternoon. Watch us live wherever you are, on our website, on our apps, and on Hulu and Roku. No matter where you are, 3 News is there.
Great. Should I move this out?